Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is To Back or Not to Back. As usual, we're going to be going through a variety of crowdfunding campaigns, talking about what they are, what the pledge levels are, what the games are about, and of course, whether it makes sense to back them or not. I feel like it's been like a week or two. Has it been 2 weeks or 1 week since the last episode? I'm not entirely sure. I've been busy. It's been a lot of travel and a lot of just trying to barely keep up. In fact, this week, I don't even have all the campaigns. There's like 4 or 5 that are like, 2+ weeks out that I'm pushing off to next week, just because frankly, I ran out of time to do all the research before having to film this video. So we still got a good smorgasbord of stuff. We have a bunch of crowdfunding adjacent, 1 or 2 not yet funded, and then a whole bunch of other campaigns to go through. But as usual, starting off the bat with our Cult of the Now. Crowdfunding has a lot of great games to pay attention to, a lot of great games that are tempting our attention, but as usual, Cult of the Now is the reminder that there are always great games available to back, well, now. Games you can go ahead and get your hands on without waiting a year and a half. Games you can get without having to pay through the nose for deluxe components, and games you can get that have a lot more content on them as far as, general public opinions or reviews out there, as opposed to having to rely on 2 or 3 actual reviews on the game. And to that end, our game of the week, or our Cult of the Now, is Lunar. Lunar from Allplay is one of their small box games, a game that I have been wanting to play, but have not played myself, but is currently available over on Game Nerds for around $15, $16, or $15.99, which is basically $16. Although, of course, I do recommend if you're getting that, probably put in a cart. Did you know Game Nerds has an option to save your cart for later? This video is not sponsored by Game Nerds, not by any means, I should say, but they have an option. If you don't want to go ahead and, get the immediate $75 worth of free shipping, I don't even know if it is 75, it might be like 100, whatever the number is, they do have an option. You can just slowly add things to your cart one at a time, then boom, you're ready to go, and you can, hey, it's 75, it says $75, so yeah, it is $75. Anyways, Lunar is going to be our Cult of the Now. And with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into the crowdfunding games, but as usual, starting off with the usual disclaimer that please keep in mind, I am CMO of GameFound. I've been working for GameFound since last August. I can't even say last August. It's now been 2 Augusts ago. For a little under a year and a half, I've been working for GameFound. Please take that into account as we go through the rest of these games too. I guess as the rest of the games on crowdfunding. Although we do have a sponsor of the week, which our sponsor of the week is Elven Throne. Elven Throne is a game of actions and counteractions, as up to 7 houses, each with their own unique characters and abilities, forge alliances and fight to gain influence over the realm. With 50 characters, with unique setup, with unique win conditions, every playthrough is guaranteed to be a completely unique strategic session. Elven Throne is currently available over on Kickstarter for you to back for the next few weeks. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into starting off, I believe, with crowdfunding adjacent, or with board game adjacent. With board game adjacent, we have the Stowii, the portable, adaptable, affordable gaming table that's game for anything. 118,000 pounds raised, 105 backers. The Stowii is exactly what it sounds like. It is a portable fold-away gaming table. That's kind of what it is. You fold it up into this box like so you can see it over here. It folds up nicely. You travel with it, or just put it into the side of the room, whatever way you want to go ahead and deal with it. In fact, there's an option to go ahead and get a little hand cart to push your Stowii table around. There's a bunch of options ranging from around 500 all the way up to 1,000 plus, of course, before shipping. Although shipping on this one is not as bad as it might be on another gaming table because of the nature of what you're getting and how you're assembling and putting it together and all that. It's definitely a little cheaper to get your hands in it compared to buying a full-on gaming table that has to be custom shipped your way. You see here we got the Stowii wheels, a little custom container to cart your Stowii around the game, around the block to your car, somewhere, to cart your Stowii somewhere. Anyways, that's going to be the Stowii game table, but from there we also have, continuing the board game adjacent, we have Alter TCG, and yes, this has $2.7 million raised, but we're still putting it in the board game adjacent category because it's a full-on trading game. I mean, we have Lurkana coming out, we have Star Wars Unlimited, we have Alter TCG, although did you know that Alter TCG and Star Wars Unlimited have a lot of overlap in the general gameplay? I've only played one of them, but I know from people who've played both, they have a very similar feel to them. I played Altered, by the way, that's the one I played. But as a TCG, we're not going to include it in the full-on board game category, but it is going to have that board game feel, although, of course, diving into an actual TCG as well. And Altered has a few things going on for it that are, well, unique. First of all, it's not going to be that much combat focus. There is combat to a degree, but it's more about your journey and your exploration as you try to move your way across a bunch of cards and trying to get there faster than your opponent by trying to control the field as much as possible. Gameplay overall was rewarding. I enjoyed my one play of it. But then past that, there also has a digital element. Each card is going to have a QR code on it, and you're going to be able to scan those cards into a permanent collection so that you own every single copy of a card. It's going to be a factor of, of the system or whatever. For right now, I believe it's only being played physically, so even though you can own it digitally, and you can even reprint a card, you can be like, look, I have digital ownership of this card. There's all these interesting facets going on. It's going to be very interesting to see how they incorporate this into organized play. Are, people validating the existence and ordering of your cards? I have no clue how the system is going to work as far as tracking the rarity and being on top of things. It feels like it's a nightmare, but I wonder, but we'll see. see. We'll see. Although it does lead to the interesting possibilities of having a game where you literally can play your actual collection in person and on the computer if they do eventually head that way, which I do hope they do. For right now over here, prices start for like €24, €24 for the starter packs, and they go up very rapidly over here. I'm not going to be going through everything over here, but they go up very rapidly. You can be spending as much as €5,000 to get basically nearly everything, although that's a huge jump up. You can go ahead and spend like, a tenth of that. If you really want to invest heavily into this, you can still spend €549 to go ahead and jump heavily into this, where you'll be spending a fairly reasonable price per pack, like around like maybe €4 or €5 per pack, although I will say that is, I think it's actually cheaper than that. I think it's like $3.75 per pack if I recall correctly, but keep in mind that every pack only really has like 4 or 5 cards, so keep that in mind as you go through it. I believe, is it 4 to 5 unique cards in each thing, so unique cards. So I'm not sure as far as if that's 4 to 5 cards. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of cards going on overall, but they are adding lots of stretch goals. If you are back in this, as the campaign has been doing better and better, they've been increasing the rarity drop, they've been increasing the card count, they've been doing a lot of things for backers of the crowdfunding campaign. If you are jumping into Altered, this is definitely a good time to do so. Although factor in that as much as $2.7 million is a lot of money, this is the initial launch. 7,000 backers does not a TCG make. If you think of like, things like Lorcana versus Altered, you need a whole lot more than that, although this is obviously the first wave push. There are worlds of people who are not on crowdfunding, so this is definitely a great start, and we'll see where Altered TCG goes next. Moving on in the game, again in the board game adjacent category, we have Legend in the Mist RPG. I will not be talking a lot about this because frankly it's an RPG. I don't really know a lot to say, talk about. In general with RPGs, I just don't know enough about, I feel like me and RPGs are probably the equivalent of, trying to have some non-board game or distinguish the difference between, Lords of Waterdeep, Stone Age, Seasons, or a dozen other games. They're like, they're games, they have components, they do things. RPGs, I understand the basic concept of them. Either way, we don't need to spend 5 minutes talking about how little I know about RPGs. We could just talk about the fact that 4,900 backers are very interested in this Legend of the Mist RPG. It's based on the City of the Mist system by, Son of Oak Game Studio over here. The City of the Mist system has done well for them, and they are basing that off, but giving you more of a traditional, I don't know, not medieval, but folklore-y, I don't know, whatever, fantasy light kind of system over here. The game looks great, looks very intriguing, but again, RPG, don't know enough about it myself to be able to say anything other than, hey, the art looks cool, the game looks cool, and I'm glad that they're doing very well over on crowdfunding and have a lot of people interested in this game. From there, we're going to move to the not yet funding category. We have Cookie Champion by Lewis and Stefan Miles over here from Eagle Griffin Games, and by the way, I did not realize this was Eagle Griffin Games at first. I didn't pick up on that. I saw the game here, and I don't know what it was, but I saw the title, I saw the designers. I even realized it was from the same designers who brought you Rococo Deluxe, or 2 of the 3 designers who brought you Rococo Deluxe, but I even missed those Eagle Griffin. I think there's a mismatch here on this one as far as the visual look of the game and an Eagle Griffin typical game, so I don't think this like pulls you in as being like, ooh, this is from the same people who bring you all those Lacerda games. But Cookie Champion, from that team, it is a lighter game. It is not, at least from what I've seen of the feedback on it, it does seem like it is on the lighter side. This is not Rococo as far as, the game weight, but it is going to, all tie nicely together. There's a bunch of reviews and feedback and opinions you can check out. There's 111 backers, $13,000 raised, and Cookie Champion is going to have you, well, being the Cookie Champion, and crafting cookies, baking recipes, hiring staff, selling cookies, all of that stuff in this little, like, mini Euro optimization game. That's going to be Cookie Champion. It's not currently funding. I am skeptical that it will. No, that's not true. I don't know how to say that. It's going to absolutely fund. I apologize. I, for some reason, thought there was double the stretch goal, double the funding goal. But overall, yeah, it will fund certainly, in the next few days over here because it's got $2,000 left to go. So it should cross that finish line, nicely, but again, not doing tremendously well. Moving on over here in the actual all-funded crowdfunding campaign, starting off with Triumph. Triumph with 3 days to go, coming to you from Phalanx Games. This is going to be 697 backers, $80,000 raised, and Triumph gives you across 3 rounds. It gives you a trying to expand the influence and politics of Rome as you take control of your band of I don't know, military units to go ahead and slowly march around Rome, dealing with the looming threat of the barbarian invasion. This is a semi-co-op-ish. It's not really semi-co-op. I played this one. I have coverage on my channel. You can check it out. It technically has a semi-co-op element, but practically speaking, it's about your area control as you try to move out and spread out from Rome. The semi-co-op element that's present is the idea that if you don't actually do anything to stop the various barbarians who are marching towards you, they could defeat Rome, but I haven't seen anything like that even remotely happen in our games, so I don't think it's an issue, but either way, it does have that light element. Past that, though, it's about the area control. It's got a bidding system, and each round you're going to be moving down the side chart over there, and then choosing which actions to take, or trying to prioritize how you bid in order to get to the right actions as you try to figure out what's going to help you the most. Where does it help to get influence cubes out? Where does it help to have more military flexibility? But where does it help to get more cards into your hand? You're going to be trying to make those choices because you only have one hand of cards, and you need to make those last across everything. The campaign over here is going to be £49 for the base game, and the base game already comes with the Triumph Gods of Rome pack built in. Basically free for each backer. They have that box, the exclusive pack with the coins and the upgrades and the miniatures and all that stuff baked in. And they also have, for €89, they additionally have the Gods of Rome expansion as well. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say with Phalanx. Their games have been a little bit all over the place as far as how they've done on crowdfunding versus how they've done the second-hand market. I would say generally with their games, if it's not something that's like, tried and true, like U-Boat or whatnot, generally the games have not done great on the second-hand market, but they also don't have a ton of availability, so they usually fall into that category of, if you want this stuff, this is usually the easiest way to get your hands in it. And also what they give you for the price point over here, the extra stuff they give you versus what things would cost at retail, there's a decent amount of extra stuff that they are giving you, so if you're comparing it to retail, I think it's worth considering, but if you're comparing it to second-hand market, it's more of a risk for sure. Moving on, we have Ruination. Ruination Bloodsworn, the expansion to Ruination from Colossal Games. Ruination bringing you I don't even know how to describe this, a area control game, an homage to Blood Rage or those kind of style of games where in Ruination you're basically trying to kill everyone as fast as possible. That's what you're doing over here. There's a lot more to it though going through the game. They have the original game system, and then they have Bloodsworn bringing chieftains to the mix. So I'm trying to figure out how to explain this in a way that encompasses the whole game, but basically every single turn you're going to be taking one of three actions. You're either going to be scavenging, getting resources, moving around the board, or which is going to involve recruiting and moving, or alternatively, so moving, recruiting, and scavenging. So those are going to be the three things, and moving gets you into battle. But every single action card available gives you a unique aspect to that action. So while you have the flexibility to move, recruit, or scavenge every single round, the additional modifications of that action changes up. Then there's going to be all these mercenaries you can hire. There's going to be cards you can add to your tableau. Every round basically giving you a ton of options to try to choose how to, make yourself more powerful or do more stuff or deal more damage. The Bloodsworn expansion is going to be introducing chieftains as well as a bunch of other things that all basically did, solid additions to the game. They gave you Nomad event cards. They give you chieftains that have their own unique abilities as far as how they operate, their own unique card. There are now chieftain action cards, which when you gather them, they power up your chieftain effectively. You additionally had a new set of, alternate exiles. The exiles being like those mercenaries. You had horde bonus cards. This means every one of the unique games, every one of the factions of the game has a unique set of horde bonus cards that are new things you can earn and secretly utilize and cash up and play when relevant. It's basically all good stuff. If you like the Ruination game system, I think this is a more fun stuff that will help, improve your experience of the game. And if you don't like the Ruination system, I don't think this will change your mind. And if you haven't played the Ruination system, this is a good chance to go ahead and dive into it. As far as the pledge levels, we have $30 for the Bloodsworn pledge, giving you the new expansion. We have $100 for the game bundle, which basically brings you a bunch of things, plus of course the new content. And then for $135, we have everything, which is basically the additional playmat, which is going to run you an additional $35. So if you want that playmat for $35, that's what this all-in pledge is basically doing for you. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold this value? Again, if you're trying to compare it to the retail right now, for example, that game bundle pledge is giving you a good bundle of everything for a good price point, considering the base game alone is $70 at retail right now. But if you are comparing it to second-hand market, again, this is one that has not done a great job holding its value in the second-hand market. So if you're comparing it to retail, worth considering. If you're comparing it to will it hold its value or not, or can you hunt down a copy on eBay somewhere, at that point you're probably better off not getting it. Moving on, we have Heart of Crown's 10th anniversary. 80,000 backers, $80,000, 667 backers, or 668 now. 10 days to go. Heart of Crown, coming to you from Japanime Games, is going to be a deck building game that is often compared to Dominion, but doesn't have the same, obviously, 3,000 expansions and a ton of popularity, but it has been compared to Dominion. I've heard the term Dominion Killer has been used a few times, both on this campaign page. You'll see people using it or reviewers using it, but I've seen it used a few times in the comments or the reviews over on BGG. But a Heart of Crown basically is giving you a deck building game, which is going to utilize the Dominion type system as you try to elevate one of seven princesses to power. You're kind of choosing which princess to elevate to power, and then building a deck trying to pursue your points as efficiently as possible. The game was popular enough that they built a Steam game out around it. They've also had a variety of expansions. I think they've had some expansions. I could be wrong with that. But over here we have the new Heart of Crown. They're coming out with Heart of Crown 2nd Edition right now, which is a few things. The first is going to be an updated version of the original. So you can see they're tweaking some graphic design, they're tweaking some art. All the princes have new art. Some cards here and there have new art. All the graphic design is overlaid. They're also introducing a new version of it over on Steam as well. So there's going to be a new Heart of Crown over on Steam for a 2nd edition over there. And then they also have a complete foil box over here, the Foil Jubilee Edition of Heart of Crown, which they are only printing for the Kickstarter backers. And then after that, it's going to run out, and that's basically the promise over there. As far as the pledge levels, we have $20 for the Virtual Empire. If you just want the new Steam content over here, $20 will go ahead and get you that. We have the new Empire, which is going to give you that Steam code as well, plus you're paying an additional $30 to go ahead and get your hands on the new content, on the new box or whatnot. And then over here, down here, we have the Shiny Empire, which is how you can get the Jubilee Edition, and again, that will come with the Steam code as well. So basically, all of these are giving you a Steam code, but they're also forcing you to take a Steam code. So on the one hand, it's $20 value, but if you're not going to play it, you're still paying for it, and you know, I don't know, sell it or gift it to somebody else if you want. We have the whole non-Shiny Empire for $149, which gives you the new expansion stuff as well, but not in the Shiny version. And then we have everything with the whole Empire with Shiny and everything and Steam codes and expansion and all that stuff for $200 over here. As far as should you back, should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say on this one. Japan Anime games is always interesting, and this type of game in specific, if you look at the sold listings on Heart of Crown, it is a game that's been hard to get your hands on, and it is a game that there are people who want to hunt down the version of the game, try to get your hands in it. Especially with the Jubilee Edition, if you're looking at something like that, which will be rarer and harder to get your hands in general, I could see that holding its value. Heart of Crown is a game that has a lower overall market presence or interest than something like Dominion, but the people who do want it tend to be very interested and passionate in trying to hunt down copies of a game that might go through print runs or not always have certain versions available, so it could go either way on this one. It might hold its value. It's a risk for sure, but I could definitely see it holding its value. Moving on, we have the big one of the week, which is going to be A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, a tabletop miniature skirmish game. $718,000 raised, 3,600 backers, and 10 days left to go. CMON's newest title over here over on GameFound is going to be bringing you A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, but in a new version. They already have the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures game. This is bringing it to you more as a skirmish game. There is cross-compatibility between being able to use things from one system to another so that your previous purchases aren't completely wasted. They have that going on as well, so they cover that. They have, where is it? Somewhere in here they talk about cross-compatibility. Here we go. Range compatibility. Miniatures are fully compatible on a scale with the existing TMG range, allowing 2 new possibilities, and I believe TMG is the miniatures game. I think that's what it is. But either way, that's going to be A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics. This is going to be bringing you a skirmish game, and also worth noting as usual, in addition to working for GameFound and all that, please take into account that I've done paid content. Board Game Co has done paid content around this title. But this is basically a skirmish game, bringing you a head-to-head game, which 2 players are going to be taking to the battlefield. Although there are 1-player modes if you go ahead and get the Giant Drogon expansion. But basically, you're going to be putting together a warband of characters, picking the scenario, and then utilizing coins to build your warband, and also coins to activate your warband. You can build small, medium, or large armies based on the coin distribution allocation. Then you're going to go ahead and build your characters. You're going to put the coins into equipment as well to buff and modify those characters, and then have at it trying to utilize those coins to activate your characters every single round to achieve the scenario goals and get as many points as possible, which is going to be a combination of the general scenario itself, your own personal motivations and objectives, and then various things that are on the battlefield that might give you points as well. You can check out gameplay of this over on Board Game Co. You can check out a gameplay over on the Dice Tower as well, and there are 2 different scenarios. It's worth noting, so if you watched one, you have not watched them all. And then you can check out preview content on Board Game Co. as well if you want to see a more of an overview of the game. But then there's also going to be a 1 to 2 player mode over here where you can go ahead and get your hands on Drogon's Fury, a special expansion that includes a giant miniature. And like CMON's other titles, some people are here for the gameplay, others just want the giant freaking dragon, which, I mean, I want it, let's be frank, I do want that giant dragon, but like, what am I going to do with it? This isn't the game that I feel like I'm going to dive into, because like, I very much am someone who's all or nothing on these game systems, and as much as I did enjoy playing this game, this type of game I do find is more suited for people who are playing that game dedicatedly, which I'm likely not going to do. Ironically, the thing I'm most interested in would be utilizing the game system to go ahead and play through those, solo or cooperative versions where you try to take down Drogon. That would be more my alley. So ultimately, we have a very cool dragon that I totally 100% want, but if I was just here for the giant cool dragons, I'd still have Joan of Arc from Mythic Games, whose name we shouldn't probably talk about. that. Anyways, that's going to be that. As far as, the pledge levels, we have the pledge without banners over here for $60, just giving you the Battle of Trident, no daily stretch goals. For $80, you get the Sworn Brother, which is going to give you, the Battle of Trident, all daily stretch goals, basically everything else unlocked. And you can see over here they have the MSRP savings, so $60 on MSRP of $80, which makes sense, it's accurate, but you're also paying for shipping, and you're really not saving much by the time all is said and done, so I really do not recommend the Pledge Without Banners pledge. We have the Sworn Brother pledge, which is going to give you $80 for a $200 value. That's more in line with the typical Command starting pledge, where they're like, hey, here's all these stretch goals for helping bring this game to life. And those are almost always worth it, whether you like the game or not. This is usually a good reference point. Well, it'll hold its value. This thing will hold its value overall. The Song of Ice and Fire Tactics line from Command, for the previous miniatures line, is not necessarily as popular as some of the other games as far as how well it's done as far on the secondhand market and all that. But the initial pledge over on Kickstarter, way back in the original game, did do well because there was a whole lot of extras for, well, a very reasonable price point, and that's true for the Sworn Brother pledge as well. So if you're looking for something that'll hold its value, I think that Sworn Brother pledge is pretty safe. And then we have Drogon, which I'm uncertain. If you look at if you look at previous Command over-the-top miniatures, they have done, or bigatures, they have done fairly well in the secondhand market, with the caveat that they are usually a complete pain to deal with shipping, and you're paying for shipping them. Like Drogon over here is basically $260, so it's an additional, what's the price point difference over here? It's an additional $160 over what the original, what the game itself is, but you're also paying like an additional $50, $60 for shipping as well, and then you're gonna have to pay for that to ship as well to the next person, or they're gonna have to suck it up. So as far as holding its value, they possibly can do so, but they're a bit more of a mess to actually deal with if you are looking to see if this is something that you want to get your hands on, and can you sell that dragon. And then of course there's a decent chunk of you that just want the dragon, will back everything else and then just sell the game because you're just here for the dragon. Anyways, that's basically what they're gonna have. They also have daily stretch goals, and you can go scroll through all this stuff. There's page and page of characters, which are not going to focus on too much over here. We have some Drogon measurements. We have some, ideals over here. So wander up to the tower and strike Drogon at his head, and that's where you're stronger. Things like that. Just showing you they have painted things over here. But I'm trying to get to the stretch goals over here. I could just use a sidebar. This is Game Fan after all. But as far as stretch goals, they have all these various optional buys, daily unlocks, all those things. So over here we have the daily unlocks slowly, unlocking. And then we have the stretch goals over here, all over here. Just tons of characters and miniatures and extra scenarios and little, things for the scenario terrain and all that stuff. We have Mag the Mighty, this giant over here who looks like he should be cross-compatible with Blood Rage, honestly. I don't imagine he is, but he should be cross-compatible with Blood Rage. But anyways, that's going to be all the stuff you got to get over here as far as a Song of Ice and Fire Tactics miniatures game. Like I said already, if you're looking for the should you back it, I think that core pledge, or not the basic one, but the core pledge past that, I think is likely your best bet overall. But also, I'm sure things will be unlocked throughout the course of this campaign. We have another 10 days left to go, which means we might be back here next Monday talking about this again. Moving on, we have Nature Games Trio, Sunrise, Snowfall, and Flurfrist. Coming to you from Pencil First Games. You have 679 backers, 11 days to go, $38,000 raised. Nature Games Trio is bringing you, 3 games. That's the whole trio part. We have Flurfrist, a pocket edition of Flurfrist, which is basically a game where you're going to be moving a pawn across a bunch of cards, trying to choose the right card for you in the column, and then going back and forth a few times, trying to choose a sequence of cards and then grouping them all together as efficiently as possible. And this is bringing you the pocket edition. This is something that Pencil First Games has done before, and they're doing it again with Flurfrist. We have Snowfall of the Mountains, which is starting off as a pocket edition. Snowfall of the Mountains does not have a big box edition, and that is basically a solo tile laying game. We're going to put together a bunch of goals, then grab a bunch of tiles, and then try to divvy them up, trying to as efficiently as possible get as many points as possible in the game. And then lastly, we have Sunset Over Studio, Sunrise at the Studio, the Sunset Over Water, so the Sunrise at the Studio, a game of trying to gather resources and utilize those to craft various pottery, and then try to get as many points as possible, as efficiently as possible, while dealing with the various secret goal cards and other things in Sunrise at the Studio. The pledges over here are going to be $15 for the 2 pocket edition games, $25 for Sunrise at the Studio, and $50 if you want to get all 3. And then $80 for if you want to get a whole bunch of other Pencil First games in a giant bundle. As far as should you back it, should you not? Oh, and of course disclaimer that Board Game Co. has done paid content around this game, but as far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value, all of that. The short version on these is generally not as much on holding their value, but if you're looking at this versus retail, they usually have a bunch of extras in the crowdfunding campaign. That's where it kind of is up in the air, because some of their games at retail, they do fine, but they also go down considering the original price point and paying for shipping over here. So really, these ones you kind of have to want the extras to be worth it, otherwise just wait for retail, and they usually don't do as good a job holding the value on the secondhand market. Moving on, we have 25th Century Games 2024 Import Collection. This is an interesting concept that they're doing over here. They're basically saying, hey, we have a bunch of publishers working with, and we're going to import a bunch of stuff, and you can help mitigate that risk by just buying a whole bunch of stuff, and then we can go ahead and bring that stuff over, and you get a big discount, and it's a whole win-win. Interesting concept as far as how they're presenting this. Don't get me wrong, 25th Century Games has in the past run, grouped campaigns, but there's there's a difference between like a group campaign of like 3 titles versus like, hey, you can get like 13 titles in a single pledge over here, and we're just going to go ahead and say this is the price point on it, and you're saving money on it. And the savings on MSRP, to be fair, does look good overall, but we currently have 453 backers, $30,000 raised, and there are a bunch of pledges you can go ahead and get your hands on over here. We have the Run pledge over here for 11 extra Calicrux NDs and the Run game for $25. We have the Mandu collection of Jekyll and Hyde Scotland Yard and Drac Livers Van Helsing over here for $35. We have the Hamster Roll, 16 extra bonus shape, and Hamster Roll for $40. This has been a out-of-print game that is not always easy to get your hands on. We have over here the Plata collection, all 5 Plata games in the import collection for $45, and then the complete import collection, basically everything in all the various extras for $160 to get your hands on all of that. So that's going to be the various options here. I'm not going to go into the individual titles, should you back or should you not, will hold its value. Some of these are going to be more in demand than others, some of these are going to do better than others, and overall the savings on MSRP is definitely there. So if you're just looking at, you know, retail versus, well, this, right, versus crowdfunding, there I think going ahead and getting this now is worth it. But if you're trying to compare it to second-hand market, it's just a lot of games. It's a lot of games to go into and try to figure out where they would or wouldn't settle. I would say keep in mind it's going to be a lot of work, even if it does get its money back. So that's going to be the 2024 import collection from 25th Century Games. Moving on, we have Conquest Princess Knight of the Necropede, or Conquest Princess Fashion is Power, and this is the Knight of the Necropede, a small expansion pack that's going to double the amount of content in the game by bringing you, I believe, 4 new scenarios to it. And if you're like, Conquest Princess Fashion is Power, hasn't that been on crowdfunding before? The answer is yes, this has been on GameFound, it funded, they're getting close to finishing production and fulfillment and all that, and they're basically saying, hey, here's a small little card pack expansion, help, you know, add more value to the game. There are going to be people who want to get your hands on the expansion, plus of course to get some more eyes on the project as well, because now it's going to be on Kickstarter as well as GameFound. That's basically a kind of a last shout before they go ahead and deliver. That's what this campaign is, although they are giving you a expansion pack, and the opportunity to buy the whole base game, as well as a little Zine RPG, I believe, is something else you can go ahead and back. With 122 backers, $8,300 raised so far. We have the Princess Zero Zine over here. Again, I think this is a Zine. I could be wrong. We have the Knight of Necropede over here for $15. This is the thing you need to pay attention to if you've backed the game at GameFound and just want the new stuff for this game. Well, the Knight of Necropede is the expansion you're going to want to look at. And then we have the Fashion Hunter for $90, basically giving you all the stuff all grouped up together if you want to get your hands on everything. And then there's a few deluxe pledges, and again, these are going to be less relevant to you if you already backed in GameFound and made that choice, although of course I'm sure you can go ahead and upgrade or do whatever you want to get your hands in it. All these pledges will be moving over to GameFound, so if you want to go ahead and get stuff in the Pledge Manager and custom and pick and choose and all that stuff, that will happen later. We have the Time Agent over here and the Fashion Hunter, and then we have the Dragon Empress pledge level for $230 for a whole bunch of deluxification, including figures that light up as they magically girl transform power into wherever they need to end up. That's going to be Conquest Princess Knight of the Necropede. Again, I have content on the channel over here, but I have content of the original game, plus I did a new gameplay as well, because I do enjoy this one. It gives me very much the Loop vibes as far as the cooperative puzzle element of just desperate survival as you go through scenario-based play. Highly recommend this game. I think it's fantastic. It is not the cheapest, but I do think it's a fantastic cooperative game, and of course supporting indie developers and all of that. And there's going to be Conquest Princess Knight of the Necropede over on Kickstarter. Next up, we have Photo Tour, a North American Photo Tour North America board game. 1,300 backers, $95,000 raised to go. $95,000 raised. This is coming to you from Chimashev Publishing, who've previously done one other game over on crowdfunding already, over on Kickstarter, and this is their second title, bringing you, well, Photo Tour North America, focusing on absolutely beautiful artwork as you travel North America and then try to win. That's basically the game. Well, to be more specific, you're going to be gathering cards, reserving those cards, trying to gather the resources for those cards, utilizing those cards into a bit of a Tableau engine. You're putting them into your own little photo book over here, and they have little abilities in them that you can utilize as well, so you are growing as you go through it. That is the element that has me the most intrigued, because otherwise this feels like it's a cross between I have to remember the games. It feels like it's otherwise a cross between, I can't remember, there's so many of these travel games, between, I know the two games in my head. There are two games that this game feels very much a cross between, but I can't remember for the life of me the titles. One is a Kickstarter game that hasn't delivered yet, so it's still pending, and the other one is, what's the event one? Trekking the World. The other one's Trekking the World. This feels like a combination of Trekking the World and the other one that I can't remember the title of offhand. But past that, and then the interesting part is the Tableau element. That's the part that I'm most intrigued by, as far as that could be where the game elevates, because otherwise this looks like a nice light set collection game that is appealing, but not necessarily having me as the target audience. Anyways, now that I have not successfully remembered the title or whatever it is, the pledge levels are here. Pledge levels are going to run you $60, and that's Canadian, so it's around $45 for the Kickstarter edition of the game. We have $67 for the Photo Tour plus premium components, and then we have $74 to get the expansion as well. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say on this one. They definitely have a decent amount of interest. I mean, $100,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Second time project. They've done a good job advertising for this one, did a good job showcasing it. It's got great art, great production. Well, I can't say production, great art so far, and we'll see how everything else pans out later. But also, this is a very saturated market, and the price points are fine, but not necessarily amazing. I could see this one going either way. In general, I think that whenever that happens, I try to lean towards not backing personally, but if you are looking to be sucked into this one, I mean, the price point on the basic Kickstarter edition of the game without any extras is going to be $40 Canadian, roughly $40, so it's not a bad price point at all, so not the worst risk to take. That is going to be Photo Tour North America board game. Moving on, we have Last Light Second Edition and New Alien Pack, 4X in under an hour. Last Light coming to you from Grey Fox Games. This is going to be their second time over on GameFound. They already, launched, delivered a while ago, and now they're coming back to crowdfunding with a new reprint over here. Some new alien races that you could have gotten if you subscribe to their, little follow the project, or they have the dollar newsletter thing as well. We have $339,000 raised, 2,800 backers, 2,900 backers out of a $50,000 goal, and 11 days left on this project over here. There are a bunch of things to go ahead and get, but basically the main idea of this is if you are someone who's trying to track down the deluxe version of the game and has not been able to, that's the main reason this project exists. It's to try to get it into the hands of people who have not been able to otherwise get their hands in it, because you can still get this one at retail, but the deluxe copies and all that stuff have definitely sold out. This is a game that has been popular enough and has been purchased enough that, they're doing a second print run for a reason over here. We have the $249 all-in pledge. It's going to be bringing you a whole lot of stuff, including the 5 to 8 player expansion. And speaking for myself, as someone who does love this game, I think 5 is good, but honestly, 3 to 4 is usually where the game shines for me. Once you move into 5, it's it gets a little more chaotic, and 6+ I just think is not as much my jam. And the reason that's relevant is unless you're really focusing on that 5-player play count, I do think it's one that you be mindful you are paying a lot more to be able to get your hands on that 5 to 8 players. So if that's worth it, if that's where you're going to play it, well, by all means do so. But if you're like, hey, I just want all of it, but you're not actually going to play the game at 5 to 8 players, well then don't get the 5 to 8 player expansion, because you can save a lot of money. Past that, there's a lot of ways to bling this game out, although if you're getting the deluxe version on GameFound anyway, it's going to start off blinged, and then from there it just gets more blinged, and you can pay for things like you can pay for things like planets that light up that may or may not be worth it or cool enough to you when they light up on your table. Lots of cool things, lots of fun things. They have a full breakdown of the retail versus deluxe as well, so you can check that out, and then of course showing you all the various tons of alien factions you have access to in the game, depending on the various numerous ways you get your hands in it. And then we have the new expansion content over here, the 5 to 6 player expansion, I should say. There's not really expansion content. There's new alien races, there's not really new expansion content. And that's kind of what we have over here for Last Light. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? First of all, keep in mind the price point of whatever it is you back. Before we even focus on holding its value, there are a lot of ways to spend money on this game that you do not need to be able to get your hands on this experience and enjoy the experience. So I would say back at the experience that feels comfortable to you, back at the level that feels like it's going to give you the gameplay you're looking for without overly taxing your wallet. As far as will it hold its value, will it not? It does seem to be about par. This is a game that's had very polarizing opinions. There's been a lot of people who absolutely love this game. I've seen it show up on a lot of top 10 of 2023 lists. I've seen people call it their top game of 2023. There's a lot of people who love this game, and I include myself in that. But there's also a lot of people who are like, this is not a 4X, this is not what I wanted out of the experience, it has issues here. And then of course it is Grey Fox, and that means there have been production issues that I've complained about. If you've seen my unboxings, you've seen me complain about them as well. So there are issues at play in terms of the production, in terms of where the game is. So it is one that has been very polarizing. My own 2 cents, I think it's an excellent game if you're looking for a lighter, more accessible 4X game. I think this does deliver on that promise, and it does so in under an hour every time I played it, which I think is absolutely amazing. But that doesn't mean it's a game for everyone, so take that into account as you back it and see if it's a game for you or not. Moving on, we have Stefan Feld set collection, Nassau and Kathmandu, and these are 2 new titles. These are not re-implementations of existing titles. This is continuing the Queen Game Stefan Feld City collection, bringing you 2 new Stefan Feld titles to your table. Campaign's doing $270,000 so far, 1,000 backers, 17 days to go, and these 2, well, they're new. They're new. If you've been following this whole collection, they currently have, well, I think these make number 7 and 8. Is that what they are? Yeah, Stefan Feld City Collection 7 and 8. That's what we have over here, and both these are new. Until now, the only new one has been Marrakesh, which has been generally very well received, and now we're bringing 2 new to the table that I cannot for the life of me tell whether these are going to be amazing new games or just Stefan Feld misses. And Stefan Feld, to be clear, at least for me, doesn't really have a lot Lobotomuses. He's had like those weird offshoot games that you'd never ever heard of. There's like one with an anthill or something like that, or an anteater. I don't remember. There's like an old one. Stefan Feld has had one or two oddball projects that just don't make their way into general mainstream, but all his Euro Engine games I've generally enjoyed. I've enjoyed them to various degrees, but I've generally enjoyed them. But Nassau and Kathmandu both look very interesting and different. Like Marrakesh feels like it feels like a love letter to his classic designs. Then we have Nassau over here, which may well be amazing. I want to play this, make no mistake. But you basically, in this game, there's going to be two phases. You're going to be marching your pirates around the city, basically lining them up as you go to location to location and move that main pirate around the board. And then from there, you're going to go into more of an almost traditional pirating, fighting other players, gathering, selling, doing all the various pirate things you can imagine in that second phase of the board. And you'll see there's a map over here. Let's see if we can find the map. Here, like you can see the two sides of the map. They're literally leaning into like just two different game systems going on in this with two phases and ships to stack things and store things. Looks very intriguing. I cannot tell if it's like just a really thematic Feld game or a game that might not be as much fun to play, and I'm intrigued to see which way it goes. And then we have Kathmandu. Kathmandu is going to be a little bit more Feldian in its approach. Just the general aesthetic of it almost reminds me a bit of Bonfire, but the mechanics look very different. But basically in this one, across 6 rounds of play, you're going to be marching your yak or your caravan across these fields, trying to match up the tile to what your central player board, while then engaging in a bunch of other actions as you manufacture resources, gather things, sell them, all that stuff. It looks a bit more Feldian in its approach. It plays across 6 rounds. Interested in both of these for sure. There's no, I mean, if anything with a Feld name on it is something I am interested in. But I'm a little bit more hesitant on these as to whether they are games that will or won't work for me or not. And then of course, because it's the Stefan Feld City Collection, everything you see is definitely expensive, unfortunately. So you have to take that into account as you decide whether to back it. As far as should you back, should you not, will it hold its value? Overall, yes. The Stefan Feld City Collection in general has mostly done a decent enough job holding its value. It's a little bit, it's complicated to get into because they have so many different offshoots. They have the deluxe and just the regular version of the game, and then they have versions that kind of give you half and half at times. So it's not always the easiest thing to track because it's a little all over the place. But especially if you are getting those deluxe editions of the game, as expensive as they are generally they're generally sought after for the most part. People want these games. It's Stefan Feld. He signed with Queen Games, and Queen Games is a fascinating company because they have put out a lot of games I've really enjoyed, and then on crowdfunding I tend to give them a hard time because I think that they're a little all over the place with what they do. Although are they still doing limited pledges? Let's see if they're still doing limited pledges. I think they may have stopped. I think limited pledges have been slowing down in general. Like they've been limited quantity. Oh, they do still have them. They do still have limited pledges over here, but they do look actually limited. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one. But yeah, in general, anyways, let's go ahead and focus on that. So that's going to be the Stefan Feld City Collection. As far as should you actually not, it's expensive. There's a lot of other games out there that are a lot cheaper, but if you are interested in them, crowdfunding may well be the way to go. And that's basically everything we have for this week. Like I said already, there's been like 4 or 5 games that I'm not covering this week just because I couldn't get all the research done in time, so you'll see those hopefully next week, but they're 2 weeks out, so you're fine. In general, I order these. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I generally order them from, what's ending soonest to what's ending furthest away within each category. So for example, we have over here Triumph ending in 3 days, and we go all the way out here to Stefan Feld City Collection ending in 17 days. As far as picks of the week, Picks of the week, I usually do 2 different picks of the week. One is the value pick of the week, the game that is most likely to hold its value on the secondhand market, and getting it on crowdfunding is the best time to get your hands on it. And then number 2 is going to be my personal interest pick of the week. My crowdfunding pick of the week is going to be A Song of Ice. My value pick of the week is going to be A Song of Ice and Fire Tactics, a tabletop skirmish game. It's hard not to. Come on, in general, their games do a great job holding their value. They give you a lot of stuff. That core pledge over there is giving you a bunch of stuff that's going to cost you more money to get your hands on later, so I do recommend getting it now if you're interested in that. And then for my personal interest pick of the week, I almost went with Last Light, but ultimately the Stefan Feld City Collection does have my interest. 2 new Stefan Feld titles from a designer who is one of my favorite designers. Castle Burgundy continues to just be amazing. Bora Bora, or the new Cusco, is delightful as well. I still have so many of his other games on my shelf. He does a great job. I mean, Bruges, oh my gosh, Bruges is amazing. So Stefan Feld, I have to be interested in these games. Would love to give these 2 a try. This is going to be my personal interest pick of the week. And as far as things coming up, we have multiple things coming up next week, but just 2 to catch your interest. We have Aeon's End: The Descent launching shortly from Indie Boards and Cards. This is going to be bringing you new Aeon's End content to your table in like the 8th wave of just a million tons of Aeon's End for those who missed out on it until now. And then we also have Steam Power from Wallace Designs launching as well. This is going to be bringing you another, another kind of a Steam / Age of Steam / Rails of the World. We now have Steam Power as well to add to the mix. And that's basically everything we have until next week. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I appreciate you being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one. I was watching an Australian cooking show the other day, and like the chefs on the show were making a meringue, and as they started making the meringue, the whole audience was cheering, which is weird because in Australia they usually boomerang.